Question 5. People with diabetes have difficulty regulating their blood glucose concentration. The graph shows the percentage of the population with type 2 diabetes between 1993 and 2000. So again, studying the graph. Y-axis, percentage of population with type 2 diabetes. So we can see here in 1993, 4.5% of the population had diabetes. Moving across to the year 2000, we can see that 7.5% of the population had type 2 diabetes. We can see that basically we've had an increase here. So this would be a positive correlation, which helps us to answer the first question. Describe the overall trend shown in the graph for 1 mark. So what we'd have there is positive correlation, or you might prefer to say from 1993 to 2000, the percentage of people with type 2 diabetes increased. As simple as that for 1 mark. Right, moving on. The next part of this question, we've got to calculate the change in percentage of the population with type 2 diabetes between 1993 and 2000. So what's the change? So let's have a look at that. Well, by the looks of things, we've got 4.5, 7.5. So what's the change? So 7.5 take away 4.5 equals 3. Not too difficult, is it? So 3% is the answer here. And this is worth 2 marks because you're reading a graph and you're carrying out a simple calculation. And as mentioned before, it's good to show you working as to how you get your 3%. It's another 2 marks picked up. Next question. People who are obese can develop type 2 diabetes. Body mass index can be used to indicate obesity. Complete the sentence by putting a cross in the box next to your answer. Again, this is a factual recall question. We should know that BMI is calculated using mass and height. Okay, so that's just factual recall, gets you a mark. For the next question, a little bit more demanding. Suggest why people with a high BMI may develop type 2 diabetes. So what is it about these people? This is a lifestyle question. So there's 2 things basically. 2 things for the 2 marks. The first thing is that these people typically consume a lot of sugar. So we need to write eat a lot of sugar. That's what predisposes them to type 2 diabetes and their obesity. So they eat a lot of sugar or too much sugar. And the second thing is too little exercise or not enough exercise. Okay, so high in sugar, low in exercise, and they're the 2 key factors that cause people to develop type 2 diabetes. Okay, so the next question is a 6-mark question. Describe the different methods that people with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes use to regulate their blood glucose concentrations. So I'm not going to write a full answer here, but what we'll do is we'll compare type 1 with type 2 diabetes. So for type 1, what do we need to say? Well, these individuals can't produce insulin. So we need to state that. Can't produce insulin. Okay, so the pancreas can't produce insulin. So what? So they inject themselves with insulin. Okay, and when? Well, they'll do that usually before their meal. Before the meal. So quite simply, that's how type 1 diabetics regulate their blood glucose concentration. That's the method they use. What about type 2 diabetics? What can we say about them? Well, they don't have a problem in producing insulin. So they'll produce insulin, but the point here is that the insulin does not have an affect on the liver. Okay, so the insulin doesn't do anything to the liver. So what can these people do in that situation? Well, there's two things they need to do. They need to control or monitor their carbohydrate intake. Now, carbohydrates, of course, are broken down into sugars. So monitor their carbohydrate, or you could say their sugar intake. Okay. What else do? They also control or monitor the amount of exercise that they do. So what we have here is a bit of a balancing act between the sugar that's consumed and, of course, sugar is used or oxidized, burned off by the amount of exercise you do. So if you can balance these two things, you can regulate your glucose concentration. So just remembering that the liver is resistant to the insulin that is produced in these type 2 diabetics. And there's plenty of information there for you to pick up your 6 marks. It's just important that you link up and you write these ideas coherently. Taking them one at a time would be the best way to do that.